celebration of Expat Press. So first off, big thank you to Manuel and to Scott for putting all this together, and for all of you to making it out here on the most beautiful but also the most confusing flyer ever devised. I'd also like to thank Xpizza for hosting us and for providing a space for us to perform in tonight. So before we get started, I thought that I would do a little retrospective on Expat Press and its mission and commend them for all of the beautiful and wonderful work that they've contributed to us over the years. So, without further ado, 10 years is a tremendous accomplishment. 10 years fighting the ossification of the publishing industry, where voices are chosen for their social utility or for greater ideological purpose. These voices are often slanted, curated, and non-representative of many, if not most, of people's experiences. Expats has opposed these precepts, this conformity that claims nonconformity, but is all too often boring, sterile, and safe. Expat is about the individual behind the identity of all identities and a true representation of lived experience. That's not distorted by considerations about social graces. Expats authors are fundamentally uncompromising, making art for art's sake and for the fun of it. The sort of shit that gets you turns off people who want to put life in bubble wrap and package it into little boxes of black and white morality. Expat is about provoking thought, not reinforcing belief. It is about bringing people together and making them feel welcome. This room is tantamount to that. Thank you. We have an amazing show for you tonight. We have some amazing performers, and I want to turn it over quite shortly to Ruben Dedinger, who's published in the Baffler and the Maudlin Press, and he has an upcoming book coming out with Hyperion Press called Cursed Images. He is also the host of Too Good to Record, a podcast that you can't listen to. Where's Ruben? Here he is.
Hi, what's up? Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here. So the first piece I'm going to read a couple of short pieces. The first piece is actually a work of nonfiction that I wrote. It's an obituary for the recently deceased philosopher Alexander Guion, who you may have heard of. Here it goes. Alexander Guion, one of Europe's most prominent and controversial intellectuals, whose work interrogated the role of language in contemporary life, died last week at his home in Geneva, Switzerland. A fierce critic of philosophy, science, and art, Guion had been described as an anti-philosopher. Indeed, Guion strove throughout his career to distance himself from the profession of philosophy. For him, intellectuals in the postmodern world had become mere court jesters. He enumerated 3 categories of contemporary intellectuals, each one more contemptible than the last: magicians, jugglers, and ventriloquists. In a world that was, in Guion's view, rapidly rendering life itself obsolete, critique had been reduced to the status of a parlor game. Guion was known not only for his broad attacks against the academic establishment, but for the trenchant ad hominems he frequently leveled against his contemporaries. Deleuze was a deadbeat, Baudrillard a miscreant. Famously, Guion described Michel Foucault as a beached squid and suggested the French theorist be preserved in formaldehyde for future analysis by marine science. Later in his career, Guion's attacks on philosophy and science broadened into a wholesale rejection of language itself. His most famous utterance, "Language was a mistake," is, however, actually a misattribution. There is no record of him having written or said these words. In his mature work, Guion advocated a turn away from linguistic communication and abstract thought, and a return to the biosemiotics of single-celled organisms, the pre-vertebrate language of chemistry and temperature. He speculated about the future of human de-evolution, imagining that the human organism, with the aid of cybernetic technology, might deliquesce into an agglomeration of independent cells lacking any central executive function, a post-human cellular colony seamlessly integrated both with nature and machines, with consciousness existing in a post-linguistic network of rarefied sensations, feedback, and energetic vibrations, which Guion ominously termed the lake of fire. While individual subjectivity as we know it would be annihilated, Guion envisioned new forms of life that would evolve from this primordial ooze of dissolved consciousness. These post-human entities, existing in pure horizontal spatiality, untouched by the horrors of time, would have no need for civilization or speech, though Guion predicted that in order to escape, or possibly to heighten, the experience of pure erotic torment which would characterize their reality, they may eventually devise means to emerge back into historical life, engineering ships to traverse the vast reaches of time and space in pursuit of their incomprehensible desires. Admittedly, the influence of Guion's disturbing futurology has been perhaps more pronounced in the realm of conceptual art and science fiction than in philosophy proper, though in any case it was never entirely clear to what extent these speculations could be taken seriously, as anything more than bitter provocations, partially or perhaps even entirely ironic. Guion's profound skepticism toward the possibility of basic communication makes it hard to know what he intended by saying anything at all. The best way to understand my books, he famously quipped, is to avoid reading them. This actually is easy to do because Guion has the distinction of being possibly the only philosopher since Socrates to have never written anything down. Everything we know about Guion's thought is secondhand, because after burning the diaries and scribblings of his youth, he adamantly and courageously refused to ever write or read anything again, a principled stance which at various points nearly cost him his chair at the Collège de France. Despite this, his work today is practically inescapable. Though you won't find citations of Guion anywhere, it is precisely in this stunning, almost breathtaking silence in which his influence becomes overwhelming. The only way to avoid Guion, paradoxically, would be to cite him, but this too is impossible because his books do not exist. While Guion's influence can be felt today in nearly all domains of intellectual and artistic inquiry, his most ambiguous and troubling legacy is no doubt in the realm of politics. Last year, when the nephew of the Italian Deputy Minister of Sport and Recreation was kidnapped, the right-wing extremists responsible for the attack released a 46-page manifesto detailing their motives and demands. Though the press pored over this document exhaustively, missing in all their commentary was the manifesto's most shocking and salient feature. Absolutely nowhere in its 46 pages was the name Alexander Guion mentioned even a single time, a glaring omission which reveals the enormous influence of Guion on the group's ideology. Reportedly, when the extremists raided the tennis club in Naples to seize the deputy minister's nephew, one of them, pointing his submachine gun at the tennis instructor, barked at him in Italian to "shut the fuck up," a phrase clearly uttered as an homage to Guion and his radical anti-linguistic theories. It's hard to say how Guion, who in his youth identified as a Maoist, felt about the appropriation of his thought by the far right, because in his final years, following his retirement from teaching, he renounced all speech, save for the barest essentials of communication necessary for daily life. Guion, in his life and his work, embodied the wry cynicism and bleak fantasia of his generation more so than any other thinker. With his passing, perhaps that curious and overly long chapter of intellectual history can at last be said to have ended. But while at this moment it is important that we reflect on Guion's contributions to philosophy, he himself would, I'm sure, insist that we look not to that which has already been said, but to the vast, unspoken, and unspeakable darkness which lays before us. I want to read another short piece. It's called Thank you. This is called The Infected Ear, and it's based on a true story of when I had an ear infection. I'm in such a foul mood that I'm going to spoil the ending of this ridiculous tale before it's even begun. I cut off my ear. Yes, just like Van Gogh. Just like that twisted essay by Georges Bataille. Do you remember the one? No, I suppose you don't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I cut off my ear, or at least I wanted to cut it off. Such was my pain. Such was the awful, obnoxious pounding. The pressure, like a swollen cyst, I was so desperate to pop, but couldn't. I fantasized each day about mutilating myself, shoving pencils, metal tent stakes, chopsticks, or bent paper clips deep into my ear canal, or, better yet, taking a pair of kitchen shears and slicing the whole disgusting appendage off my head. What would I do with a severed ear? After the celebrations, I mean. After my 4 weeks of touring the luxury beaches of Mexico and the Caribbean islands, with a gaping wound in the side of my skull, blood stains covering the shoulder of my shirt, my hair caked with gore, enjoying the greatest freedom I felt in my life, laughing and drinking cocktails in the evening with beautiful tourists, perhaps taking day trips into the interior to glimpse the vanishing rainforest ecosystems, maybe even visiting a remote indigenous community accessible only by canoe. Yes, the world would be open to me, you see. I would be like a child or a celebrity, innocent and free, able to take in everything, to finally enjoy the rare pleasures and exotic sensations of this curious world. If only I could rid myself of this fucking ear, this parasite which drains all intelligence and erotic joy from life. Then I could be free. But then, to repeat my question, what would I do with a severed ear, a severed, infected ear? It must be obvious now. It's no surprise. I spoiled it at the beginning, remember? I will give it away as a gift, just like Van Gogh. And to whom shall I present this repulsive gift? Oh, but you know who. It is, of course, for you, and you alone, that I will tenderly wrap my bloody and pus-filled ear in pages torn from my notebook. It is yours. Here, take it. If nothing else, you can always remember me for the courage of my stupidity. Okay, and I'm going to read one more thing. It's a poem. It's called, also based on a true story. It's called Formaldehyde. I remember, as a child, attending a science education summer camp, where I was presented with the extracted eyeball of a butchered buffalo. Black, it glistened sickly on the table, trailing a line of pink like a bridal train, the tissue that once linked it into a living brain. I was supposed to cut it open, this eye, to slice and peel and separate its parts, and learn thereby, I guess, some secret I was supposed to know, though I didn't know what or why. But I could not listen to the teacher's instructions. So overwhelmed was I by the intoxicating stench of the chemical in which the thing had been preserved. I stuck the scalpel with which I'd been armed into the globe of black which seemed to glow and stare in idiotic curiosity up at me. And as I stabbed it fearfully, a jet of bluish fluid squirted right into my face. This is the only thing I remember from that day, the only lesson that I learned. Not the anatomy or functioning of eyes, but just that bluish liquid bursting and the stench of formaldehyde. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. Before you go, is there anything that you would like to plug? Where can we find your writing? Where can we find your work?
I'd like to plug my podcast, which you already mentioned. It's called Too Good to Record. The problem is this podcast is not recorded, and so there's no way for you to listen to it. And there's no, so I don't know what else to say, but
we'll look for the conversations through the ether, okay? Thank you so much, Ruben. So, up next, we have Lily Beckstaw, who has traveled here from Western Massachusetts. And when I talked to her about how she wanted to be introduced tonight, she said, "I'm from Western Massachusetts." Wanting to probe more, I asked, well, what's more about you that I can kind of talk and speak to your work? She says, "I'm from Memphis, Tennessee." So she considers herself more of a painter, but has dabbled with writing. But having taken a glance at her work, I can say that she's multi-talented. Where is Lily? Ah, here she is.
Hello. I thought I was going last, but I'm prepared. I guess I'm supposed to say something about myself, but it's an honor to be here. This is unexpected. I didn't think I was a writer, really, but I have written my whole life, I guess. I'm going to write, or I already wrote it. I'm going to read a piece of short fiction. We keep having the same dream about licking each other's mouths in a grocery store surrounded by unarmed toy soldiers. I'm like, what the fuck you on? Can I please bite you and your pretty little... No way, man. I know you got something funny, but you're young still, I know. You got something funny, but you're young still. You were saying that I'm not real. We keep having the same dream. People around here don't lock their doors. The man at the gas station said a good dress shows off the promise of salvation, the torments of hell, and the existence of tits. When he said that, I knew he was literalizing and not moralizing their shape. When we met again, he was sitting next to me at the bar in a cheap suit which hung off of him like loose skin. Skin which was a new color I'd never seen before, a desaturated putty gray. He told me that he'd lost 31 pounds in 90 days because of desire. He was trying to lose 19 more. Desire is the best motivator, he said. And then after a little while, I could hear the sound of water hitting the linoleum, and I realized my chair was actually a portable commode frame without the plastic tub part in it, and that my leggings and underwear were pulled halfway down my thighs. And I guess I'd pissed on the floor a little. I did everything right and nothing wrong, and I was going to receive everything that I had coming to me. I followed his instructions to a T, but still felt fucked. Later, when it was over, I was walking through the halls feeling lonely and noticed the sky had dropped and it was raining. I left through the side door and out down some steps, it being dark out and closing in. It felt so intimate, so zipped up from the drone of it all. To my left was a vast dark space. It was being illuminated by the frequent lighting, big strobe flashes. That's how I realized how expansive it was, recognizing the division of ground and sky. And then I realized its surface was pitted like water, the ocean maybe. It is. And it was. It was. Really pouring now, but the pitch black shiny water is so beautiful, and I realized I should swim in it, in the dark. I put my bag and my clothes on a flower bed by the school steps, and before I can pad down to the edge, through the plastic sand, I'm noticing something crab-like crawling toward the water. It may have been crawling out. It was hard but soft, beautiful edges, like exquisitely pulled glass. I picked it up, and it pinched me with its claws and cut part of my thumbnail off. I dropped it a short distance, only a few feet, but instantly it disintegrated into a swarm of writhing pieces. It lay there shifting on the sand, different pieces, stretching and reaching out to each other and singing. I was sad, believing I had destroyed it in the way that bees die after stinging in self-defense. And something about its fragmentary parts still moving, reassembling almost, made me uneasy. They were looking to go somewhere, and they looked so familiar. I hurried away, realizing I might have something in me too. She had softened them with her body before carefully laying them in me like branches or making a bed. Who knows what they were originally? They could have grown or altered since the exchange, since passing through her, living inside hers first and then inside mine. Transferred through the amniotic fluid, even like other fun toxins. I got my own shapes inside me, but they talked to me more. I always used to like those moments when my body would start to turn, my hands move my face and back up my life. And yours is so wide, I can see right through to your battered brain. It's sweet and savory and a little bit salty. He is hung inside the entire world and reflected back at us. This is very beautiful to some people, maybe you. I rolled over on the kitten in bed and it stopped breathing. It's such a beautiful day, and she was such a beautiful girl. I'll turn my head to the left and notice the smell growing stronger. I'll carry my gaze evenly across the thicketed horizon, holding my gaze steady and immobile on my neck. I'll see it on the forest floor just over there, shoulder blade roughly paralleled with its head. Understand it still as when it struck the ground, dark like boiled wool but with a slight sheen from the morning condensation. I won't go any closer. I can know if it's she. I can slowly and carefully walk back home, the smell of her receding as the meadow comes into view. The morning sunlight reports the grass is warming up, but I won't tell anyone. It was the bear that breathed behind her every night. When my limbs get longer, the cars grow intolerable human faces, spiky and more multifaceted than ever, but reducible still. I remember when it started, at a time when the culture was saturated with allusions to falls from grace or power or whatever. Everyone was writing extinction fiction, and eventually it started to rot and smell bad and release gases and bloat. Someone could tell we should relieve the pressure, or at least back away from the impending explosion, but people weren't listening anymore. So their hearing organs did that evolutionary lip service thing where they just become vestigial cavities. Someone invented a game involving long, cylindrical-shaped instruments that they used for inserting into other people's ears. When they did this, something happened. But they didn't stop when whatever it was fell out. They kept going. It lay all frothy and new on the ground until the rotting and ripening started. I got my period in the parking lot picking at those commas. When I become perfect at night, I have the same dream each morning after. I go into the woods to find a bear that looks like my mother. This bear is easy to kill because it not only looks like my mother, it behaves like her too. And my mother loves me. I shoot the bear and skin it. The skin peels off so easily, like an irregular tomato boiled and cooled. Its body bleeds little, pink and smaller without its skin. Returning to the parking lot ritual, puncturing and receiving ad infinitum. I begin gathering the spume at their feet, but their words are young and rancid. Inside the bear skin, forced to be touching, I say, I'm sorry, but this is the end of the world. This is the breath behind you at night. The skin takes it all up, takes it good just like that, and swells so big the people fucking in the parking lot are forced to stop. And when you breathe in and hold it, you must eventually let it out. They didn't have any, only holes. The other kinds of people didn't have holes, but instead long cylindrical shaped instruments that they used to insert into the other people's holes. When they did this, the writing happened, but they didn't stop when the new thing slipped out. They kept going. It lay all frothy and sensitive and fresh on the ground until the rotting and ripening started, quickening. So I have them too, but they got soft and part of my body more. Now my body is other shapes and other people. And they told me about the king, about how I could see it, answers the question, who whispered that in my ear when I walked down the road that morning? When I left, the water was dripping down the stone, turning it wet and blacker than coal. It's a beautiful thing, but it's never a beautiful feeling. I always lock the door. It was freezing in the apartment, and to stay warm, we lay back to back. I felt contained within a doorway, pressing outwards against the frame. I had a dream that night in which you returned nicely tanned, smelling of a deep crawl space with a hot animal inside. I smelled crisp discs of glass just behind my eyes. On a piss-stained lawn, I saw a money bush shedding dollars, which I, skinny and wet, ran to collect. And below that, an apple tree bearing balls of bleached hair instead of fruit. Someone spilled the contents of a bucket, a mixture of newly rehydrated clay. I had fallen up on the concrete where the slurry was pooling, a skid of my knee skin still there. And it does it with the cold metallic hose water. Then it goes into the warm strawberry patch and mixes with the shit. And the people did unto it too, eventually, one after another, like bad topiary. The bushes set fire to themselves, and the smoke disappeared through a hole in my right eye. When I woke, I was feeling. It was simple, meaninglessly dark. There was nothing but blue phosphenes lingering in my vision, and there was nothing. I was feeling so like women. It was cut perfectly through. It was cleaved, shaven, bald, and clean. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lily, for coming all the way out here from Western Massachusetts tonight. Really appreciate it. So up next we have Emily. Emily is a divinator, a multi-hyphenate, an astrologer, a mystic traveling from the realm of the Jersey Shore. She has a book coming out, or it's already out, called Confetti, and of which it has been said that it has a messy Epicurean sensibility, which should appeal to the artistic terrorists and the ad hoc. Oh, what was the ad hoc? The ad hoc gangsters. The ad hoc gangsters. So wherever Emily is, if she can make her way up here.
That was very sweet. That bio kind of made me want to die a little. That was really lovely, though. And yeah, this is Confetti. I do think it's for ad hoc gangsters, as Manuel beautifully wrote. I think it's for regular gangsters as well. It's really for all sorts of people. How are you guys? Like, I've never read behind account. Like, this is cool. So I'm gonna read one from Confetti, and then your reading made me feel inspired to read an ear poem. So I'm gonna do that then. Is everybody okay? A preface to transgression. I'm losing my voice. My voice sounds usually slightly better than this, in case there was confusion. Flash, high-pitched moan. Flash, high-pitched moan. What's the matter? Scorched tooth. Eye is delineator. Sunlight dismembers lunar surface by crossing wire. Semi-holy rapture which mystics outpour, lost in the space between hammer and air gun. Flash delivers density to the night it lights. Banged, upturned butter. Language gets discovered. What about the others? Your voice thins, then clusters. I'm gonna read one more longer poem. Are you guys into poetry? Okay. It's called Her Short Film with Van Gogh's Ear. And there is also mention of Nietzsche, which is a very annoying thing to do in a poem. Do you know what I mean? But he was really into his ears. Do you know this? called them little labyrinths, and he said that women were like really into them. It was like his thing. 1. An ear cut from its head is a ticket here, granting entrance to an arena, bluish, sinuous ear. Oh, rots, troublesome, mansion takes dirt as it comes, situation by situation. It is spring, arrived eerie, semi-miraculous, zapped, so oracular, ear cut from the kingdom, just like that. Profusion decomposes over us, ticketed. I list, I become a listener, a grief struck, bloodshot moron, forlorner than winter's minutes. I phone a camera operator, press metal to my ear to metal, press. 2. Jeffrey Beaumont finds an ear in a field where Bobby Vinton sings, "She wore blue." What an ear discloses about the man who wore it once, velvet, I've wondered too. Friedrich Nietzsche called his little labyrinths, loved them truly, walked around, ring, ring, writing. Unruly camera operator says, "Hi." I am near the sea, not thinking of Nietzsche. Our voices float over salt, float and halt. A boardwalk is a strip of wood between the ocean and street, says loudly someone from behind. What? CO asks metallically. 1889, a horse beaten in Turin, Italy, silences Nietzsche. I pore over my lit books, quiet as old horses getting herded. It's spring. Here's a thicket for what's untended. Toward, camera operator, I go. He frames the scene, and me, I is griever, a repeater. Purity and danger, plus a little Nietzsche, but the sea recedes, reads illustriously, labyrinthine. Here again is the delinquent camera operator who shoots me angularly, so creepy sweet. The tone is low, Rococo's decorous rot and such Fragonard-like summer prophesied by spring's one shoe shoving off towards marble statue, sickening, soaring, sick, dissipating, spring's middle. A minotaur turns and turns with thick neck, his bull head around, alluring is his animal ear in hearing. I speak to camera operator, so slow, untoward, like Nietzsche. He prefers phone sex to philosophy. That his writings sprung from pathology sounds like bullshit to me. Oh, the ear's disruptive, puny impunity discloses nothing, but so gloweringly thrown. My CO given to roam the low angles, the tower, the sun, there, not, but where lives what's been cut, slain and slaying the sky, they swing. The Swing, 1767. Anybody know that painting? It's like, whatever, it's fine. Was called frivolous by some so-called enlightened persons, and the painting is quite gorgeous, obnoxious. Just think, confectionery pink, man to man, she swings. A statue watches everything. Winged, more bent than life and death, still littered like the ears that are both more and less, cut from heads, thrown over the fence, left to drip wax from which Icarus's wings will one day get fashioned, melt. 3. Soon, from under Cool and Marlboro signs of the gas station, we, camera operator, and me will leave. By now it is no longer, not much, spring. I read a book of cut things as he captures 3 cicadas, belly up, ornamental, under 5 p.m. Skies, sapphire blue, not eternity, but moon shadow, powder on firmament's lid, sun shut so off. In the new cinema, Nietzsche's dirty talk plays from a terrarium in the lobby of a first motel. And this is the final section, and then I'll be done. 4. Are you guys like, what's going on? What are you guys thinking about? Nietzsche, yeah, I know, right? So silly. Van Gogh cut his ear off near a century ago, but the fact remains startling, no? Would you rather approach an ear in a field or receive one via post? What compelled Vincent to mail his ear? Only he or sun-drenched Arles 1888 knows, where he painted alarm bell yellow, perishable sun, armchair, armchair, sucked brushes with teeth. I drop a dozen eggs, pour salt on thick yolk. Camera operator, handsome as Van Gogh, sits watching from a chair as the sun, stunning, pours. Now we're driving, terrace, wheat fields galore. Iris is in the fore as I think absent erotic god of medieval mystics and newly closed Cineplex, neath the red symbol for ExxonMobil, which is Pegasus. Sprung from blood, dropped from Medusa's chopped head, the bull is a beautiful animal whose red head I mistake for camera operator again and again. Lights flash yellow, yellow, red. In the myth, an error, a turn, or there are neither errors nor turns, only Arles, only Turin. The stars get bolted to their volt, and the sun dumbs and dumbs as cool and Marlboro signs crawl, fly's eye view across our thighs, undone, sound, spun, the lights mad knowing, humming, decomposing, me and him and I, paint thin, calm, dissolve. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Emily, for your performance. So, up next we have Gwen Hilton. Gwen Hilton is a recently published punk rock author of a Bildungsroman titled Where the Breastplate Meets the Blade, and has another work out that's a little bit older that is called Sent to the Silkworm House. So without further ado, once she moves around over here, I will turn it over.
Thank you, Nick. No problem. It's so nice to be here. Thanks, Manny. I've never been to New York. Here is a little bit about my old bosses. My old boss, Joanna, was some mix between dumb Polak and other Eastern European half-breeds. Her sister was into Merker, though, so I can't knock her too hard. She graduated at the top of her law school class out of Texas, which is supposed to impress me. She used to talk to me about how she was an anti-medical interventionist, and I asked her her favorite Bob Marley song. And she'd tell me men don't like her hairy pussy. She'd go out of her way to let me know she thought that my transness was offensive all the time, and that I must be trying to kill myself. Why would a handsome young man like myself, and HR didn't respect me, so I can't bring this up, want to ruin my good body with xenoestrogens? And we were watching Pride and Prejudice with that Succession guy when she said, men who look like that don't like her hairy pussy. We were drinking company wine, and I was stealing company time. My bosses used to have the conversation about stealing company time with me. I asked if the code phrase sweatpants boner meant anything to them. Then I brought up the rape victims that were fuckable and who made those comments. Then I brought up the guy rifling through my pills, showing them to coworkers. Then people stopped asking me about theft. I started saying what I wanted. Do you want to take this to court? Did you forget who my mother is? I've already let every judge in this city know which of your partners is constantly incapacitated. Shiraz, the Australian implant, said her husband liked hairy pussy. Shiraz was also more than 6 feet tall, packing cannons, could pierce your heart with a gaze, and had a voice like Martha Graham Dancer blankets. Her sister made out with Chad Kroger at a pendulum show down under. She was gunning for a partner position at our firm. Her husband was an attorney as well. He got a job in big law, making more than $100,000 doing document review. He figured there's no reason to go further. Her husband talked to me about the times he recreationally smoked crack. He talked about how you can do it and not get addicted. The dyke boss told everyone that Sweatpants Boner could sink our firm, and she held a meeting about my workplace attire. This boss asked if I was doing sex work. I got the clothes from a sex worker. The boss says it doesn't matter if I'm getting underpaid. She never came into work, and she sank cases, and she was only a partner because of the dirt she held on sitting political officials. I was only employed because of the dirt I had on them. Shiraz hated her lazy husband. Her lazy husband that made the most incredible edibles I've ever had. Her lazy six-figure earning husband. Joanna didn't care that Shiraz's husband liked hairy pussy because he's not a husband worth stealing. Joanna had frequent panic attacks and quit. Shiraz found a partner job at a competing firm that pays more and asks less of you. Mark was fucking Elaine. Mark had changed ever since he was elevated to partner. He would stay until 11, and Elaine wouldn't show up until 2 p.m. now. She used to come to work with a smile by 11. Evan's sister died in a plane crash. Everything changed when she died. Evan let the firm know he was asked to commit multiple crimes by the managing partner. Evan was supposed to watch Pride and Prejudice with us. He recently had a vasectomy after catching Zika virus. His wife is not his wife legally. The women see that as reason enough to chip at his commitment. Sweatpants Boner told Mark's wife that Mark and Elaine would be the only two people in the office until 11 p.m. sometimes. Mark is now the happy father of 2 children. Elaine moved. She runs a dog Instagram. Elaine bought me Shake Shack to make sure I wasn't trying to kill myself. She won a free year's supply of Shake Shack from an Instagram ad. Most Instagram giveaways have 1 or 2 extra special rules. If you read the whole sheet, you can almost guarantee you'll be the only person submitting properly. Which person at the firm let everyone know I want to die? Well, they wouldn't pay me more, and yes, I had planned that workplace murder-suicide. I don't even know what happens in Pride and Prejudice. I was too busy dealing with graying 30-year-olds trying to stomp my pride. Have you heard the phrase, all cats are gray in the dark, Joanna? Edison was a fan of that one. Are you even a lawyer now, Joanna? Who the fuck are you? If you're still in Chicago, I'm sure I can make us cross paths. I heard about you crying in your office. You can't even make your underlings work for you. Maybe men don't hate your hairy pussy. Maybe men hate you for you. Enjoy the next football game. I'm sure your boyfriend will love you knowing more about football than him.
Thank you so much, Gwen, for that. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Okay, so before I introduce our next performer, our final performer, she has asked me to read a particular Reddit thread from our Red Scare pod that was about her, posted over the summer. So, if you bear with me for a second, let me bring that out for all of you to enjoy. Where's the... why do I have 80 tabs open? This is ridiculous. All right. Load.
Also, happy birthday to Kyle, the guitarist.
Happy birthday to Kyle, the guitarist. Okay. Entitled by username Baja Julius. Which one of you retards lives in Ohio and has a band called Johnny St. Grace, LMAO? There's some dipshit Zoomer girl running around my city here doing this extremely try-hard tradcath LARPer built, making music like some sort of third-rate, quote, 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 Appalachian Lana Del Rey. She clearly wants to be Dasha so bad it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, she got banned from one of the dive towny bars in the artsy neighborhood here for going up during karaoke and saying, "This one goes out to all the unborn fetuses who have been murdered and will never be able to sing," before doing Running Up That Hill. She also posts retarded shit like more fetuses have been genocided than Jews in Nazi death camps during the Holocaust on her IG. And every venue has taken notice and either canceled her scheduled gigs or preemptively banned her. Last I saw, she was paying a gig at some auto repair shop on or around the 4th of July. Anyway, since there's absolutely zero chance you're not a poster here, I just wanted to take the opportunity to call you a retard since I've not had the quote-unquote pleasure of actually meeting you IRL so far, LMAO. Well, we have the pleasure tonight of meeting Johnny St. Grace and her band. There she is.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to play like so many of the unborn. Never got the opportunity to. And so I just moved to New York as a result of that because, yeah, I was banned from all the venues in Cincinnati. So a new frontier, a new year, and I'm glad to spend it with you all. Sick. I love rock and roll. I don't know about you all. Love is patient. Don't be sorry, be silly. Another one. This song's called Spiritual Duckling. Stained glass fragments, souls of fractals, and the light is so bright we have to shatter and die. And I'm sure that this is a war, and you can live a lie, you lay down your life. I'm a spiritual duckling in a spiritual oil spell. Won't you wash off these feathers and hold me still? My family's worried about me. You will never know Jesus freak, and it's a lonely life as I cry for our eternal destiny. And I'm sure every day is a war, and you can run and hide, wake up and fight. The enemy is abundant, ever looking for prey. Won't you fortify me, oh Lord? Help me to change my ways. until your waves crash against my corruption. I feel waves wash away my corruption. Ooh, and I'm sure this life is a war, and the light's so bright it's a terrifying sight. You can close your eyes, but either way you're gonna die. Maybe a little down on the mic. How can I? You got any verb on this? Ooh. This one's called Hair Shirt Night Terror. The rest so superfluous, the world and all its palms. There is nothing I shall want. There is nothing I shall want. The first sin was in a daydream, molding idols out of clay. Navel gaze the day away. A distracted days. The obsidian screen blinding me, concupiscence straining the common sense. Your mind so open, your brains are spilling out. The real shame, you could have been a true contender, dropped out of the race before it even began. Too proud for the chase. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just the law of nature, babe. Jesus dies every day, and so should I. I shouldn't reminisce about my past life. Time is just a sequence of ideas, and the one of you has gone stale. But I'll see you in my hair shirt night tear. I'll see you in a lustful dream. But this acquaintance has proved to be unholy. Counting suns like sheep before I sleep. Examination of conscience. My mom likes to say this is our more commercial hit, so.
She also says things like, she can be a model.
That girl is wilder than a racehorse. This is called Virtue. Well, it's been about a year, so naturally I'm thinking about what could I got differently for when I was insane. But I would fall, you'd watch me fall, and then you'd follow me into the fall. And you were no man, you were no man at all. And you knew, you knew, you knew, you knew what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to protect my virtue. You were supposed to protect my virtue. And you knew, you knew, you knew, you knew what you was meant to do. You'd failed to protect my virtue. You'd failed to protect my virtue. We were going to marry, thought we was arbitrary, and thank God we didn't, 'cause I don't think that you could ever answer the call. And you were no man, you were no man at all. 'Cause I would fall, you'd watch me fall, and then you'd follow me into the fall. And you were no man, you were no man at all. And you knew, you knew, you knew, you knew what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to protect my virtue. You were supposed to protect my virtue. And you knew, you knew, you knew, you knew what you failed to do. You'd failed to protect my virtue. You'd failed to protect my virtue. So before you endeavor on defining another way, you better consider what you're after. And before you endeavor on defiling what you have to offer. So it's been about a year, and naturally I'm thinking about what could have gone differently. Okay, we'll do one more. Just one more. And then we can party, and there'll be a DJ, and it'll be very light of spirits, I swear. Yeah, and louder on the guitar.
You want the guitar louder?
Yeah.
We don't have any reverb at all.
This would have been nice to know. Became more spoken word. Okay, good. Yeah, perfect. Okay, perfect. This is called Maria. Such fragile creatures as children of God, we were not created to be relied upon. So I rely upon your reliance to God, and I consecrate my heart to Maria. If I daydream about you enough, will you let me into heaven? Like the angels who ponder you for all of time. Well, that's the only occupation I can occupy, because I'm so preoccupied. Oh, Maria, Maria. That'll do. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Is it still on? Oh, it is still on. Good, good, good. Well, you can say you saw her at Xpizza before you saw her at Barclays, or at least Brooklyn Steel. It's fantastic. If they'll have her. We'll see. We'll see if the Cincinnati brings out in New York. Okay, so thank you all, everyone, for coming out tonight to this event. Thank you for being dedicated readers of Expat Press over the years. And there's been a lot of talk lately that the vibes are off in some way. And nights like tonight make me feel that that is not the case. So thank you all for coming out. Let's have another round of applause for Manny, for Expat Press, and for all of you. Good night.
And yo, we're all gonna be here till midnight, so feel free to hang out, drink more, eat more pizza. You guys doing pizza still? I don't know. All right.